Battle Through the Heavens God, the Flame Emperor Chapter 4, The Mysterious Cave Mansion. The ancient Emperor Toushe is here. Why are you here? Xiao Yi obviously remembered something, and turned to face the Golden Dragon King. It's too late to say, this space is about to collapse, let's go out and I tell you in details. Come with me, said the Golden Dragon King. After finishing his gestures, a miniature appeared in the broken void in front of him like a small channel. The Golden Dragon King just went through a big battle, and now he has broken through the void again, and his soul body is getting weaker and weaker. Let's go. After saying that, without waiting for Xiao Yan's approval, his soul directly resided in the Nataka ring in Xiao Yan's hand. Boom boom boom. The space where Xiao Yan and the others were collapsed instantly, led by the Golden Dragon King. They poured into the new passage. In a few moments, a simple door appeared in front of the three of them. There is a familiar smell in the door, because the heavenly fire in my body is beating violently, as if seeing the most delicious food. This is. Xiao Yan looked at the Golden Dragon King in a state of soul in shock. It's been 10,000 years. I'm finally back. I don't know where you have gone, Toushe. Looking at the quaint gate, the Golden Dragon King couldn't help but murmured with some moist eyes. Xiao Yi looked at the door thoughtfully, and the mysterious rune on her forehead became brighter and brighter. Let's go, Xiao Yi. I still need your help to open the stone gate, the Golden Dragon King said and floated to the gate, muttering something near the gate, and the mysterious rune on Xiao Yi's forehead fell off his forehead and moved towards the gate. Fly over the stone gate. Don't worry, I know you have a lot of questions to ask, and there will be answers you want to know. The Golden Dragon King clearly saw that Xiao Yan was confused and said quickly. The stone gate in front of him slowly opened, and a terrifying aura like a sleeping giant emanated from the stone gate, which directly made Xiao Yan feel the pressure to kneel and worship, but there was also a strong cordiality feelings that followed. What's going on? Xiao Yan felt 10,000 puzzled at this moment, but he had to suppress the puzzlement in his heart and followed Xiao Yi and the Golden Dragon King and walked in. Slowly, Xiao Yan looked inside the shimon and found that there was something special inside. There are not too many expensive items in the quaint and simple stone gate. The most conspicuous thing is on the stone gate steps. An old man dressed in dark robes and has nothing special about his face. If you ignore his colorful hair, if so, he is almost no different from those ordinary old men. At this moment, the old man is stable and peaceful, but the aura of destruction felt from the old man that is sitting cross-legged among the buds, with his tightly closed eyes, slowly opening on his old face. Xiao Yan had seen this figure several times, and his inheritance came from the person in front of him. At this moment, Xiao Yan knew in his heart that this was the real Toushe ancient emperor. Disciple Xiao Yan, I have seen the master. Xiao Yan looked at the ancient emperor Toushe who appeared again in front of him, and immediately said respectfully with his arms in front of the figure. After all, if it weren't for the dowdy cave mansion left by the ancient emperor Toushe, there would be no Xiao Yan today. Xiao Yan also received the inheritance of the ancient emperor Toushe. In other words, he can be regarded as a disciple of the ancient emperor Toushe. So it makes sense to call him master. You're quite clever kid. Xiao Jin has really worked hard for you all these years. Hey. Emperor Toushe looked at the weak Golden Dragon King in front of him and sighed endlessly. Come here, Xiao Yi. Ancient Emperor Toushe smiled at the three people in front of him, and immediately waved a milky white light towards the Golden Dragon King. The originally illusory soul of the Golden Dragon King became more and more solid. Xiao Yi also stood on the shoulders of Emperor Toushe, as if trying to remember something. Is it the seal of reincarnation? Emperor Toushe murmured. The space in front of you is a bud of flame. I know you have many questions. Sit down and I will talk to you slowly. Hearing this, Xiao Yan did not act coquettishly. With a flicker of his figure, he sat cross-legged on the flame bud. Anyone who is promoted to the level of Dodi in the Dochi continent will be crowded out by the Dochi continent plane. In just a few days, as many as a few decades, the displacement will reach a critical point, and then you must leave the Dochi continent and go to the new continent rank. Ancient Emperor Toushe looked at Xiao Yan's face and said slowly without waiting for the latter to speak. I feel this too, but why were the five of us attacked by the Golden Dragon King when we entered the passage leading to the new world? Xiao Yan said solemnly, if according to what Emperor Toushe said, why would there be anyone inside the passage? There are people who attack themselves. Shouldn't there be planes to attract people? You're really blaming it wrong. Emperor Toushe looked at the Golden Dragon King full of guilt and continued. You're right. Every person who enters the new continent from the lower plane continent will have someone to pick him up, but the channel connecting our Toushe continent to the new continent was destroyed by a war 10,000 years ago. Some people died in battle, and a few people did their best to repair the passage, so we have not been able to guide people since 10,000 years ago. Xiao Yan saw a trace of loss in his eyes when he saw the ancient Emperor Toushe talking. Master, what is the reincarnation mark on Xiao Yi's forehead? Xiao Yan always cared about what the black figure said before. Xiao Yi has followed him for many years, and it has helped him so much. Xiao Yan doesn't want to lose Xiao Yi. This is not only a problem for his own strength to drop significantly, but Xiao Yi is more like a partner to himself. The seal of reincarnation is the mark left in this world by the most peak powerhouses in the entire Great Thousand World. When the time is right, the previous peak powerhouses will wake up again, and they will give the mark of their choice. The strength of the owner's peak, but no one knows how long this time will be. Emperor Toushe said with respect in his eyes. The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. Xiao Yan looked at Xiao Yi quietly, and suddenly there was a trace of moving. But don't worry, I won't let any accident happen to you, Xiao Yan said firmly. I'm talking to you about the 10,000 years war. The battle 10,000 years ago covered the sky and the sun. It gathered the heavens' favorites from the whole universe to fight against the alien evil races isolated from the Great Thousand Worlds. It lasted for 10 years. In the end, our Dakian world sacrificed all the peak powerhouses and desperately burned all their own vitality. To seal the abominable alien race? In order to delay the invasion of our Dakian world by the alien race, let us breathe. We fought back with anger, and finally hit the foreign evil clan severely and drove them out of the Great Thousand World. In that battle, we underestimated the power of the foreign evil clan, causing our Great Thousand World to suffer heavy damage. Our top powerhouse in the Great Thousand World burns life force to seal the alien race, but the alien race is the most peak existence after all, so even if all the life force is burned, it will not die in the true sense. The seal of reincarnation. Choose the inheritor to inherit their own power or plant the seal of reincarnation next time to fight against the evil race from outside the territory. This is the origin of the seal of reincarnation. Although the top powerhouse of the evil race from outside the territory is sealed, the power of the seal continuously weakening. Maybe in 100 years, all the evil races outside the territory will make a comeback, and then the world will have to rely on you. Ancient Emperor Toushe looked at Xiao Yan in front of him kindly, as if he had made a same decision. Do you want to practice the real flame mantra? Ancient Emperor Toushe. Battle Through the Heavens God, the Flame Emperor Chapter 5, Inherited? The real flame mantra. In the wide stone gate, several figures stand in it. The real flame mantra. All Xiao Yan's achievements in Toushe continent are inseparable from flame mantra's cultivation technique. Although it is inseparable from his own efforts and perseverance, who can say that there is no flame mantra such as heaven and hell? Master, please enlighten me. Although Xiao Yan still didn't know what the master's so-called real flame mantra was, he was in this unfamiliar new continent. Only strength is the best guarantee, and since he has to resurrect his ancestors to find his clan and his lover, strength is the most important thing, so Xiao Yan agreed without thinking. Boom boom boom. Xiao Yan saw that there was a mysterious scroll in Toushe hand suddenly for no reason. Through the scroll, Xiao Yan felt the strange fire in his body and even the things deeper in his body became more restless. All of this seems to be caused by the scroll in front of him. Master, this is? Xiao Yan asked while holding back the strong shock in his heart, thinking that his master Toushe would definitely not harm him. This is the real flame mantra. Toushe said plainly. The real flame mantra? At this time, Xiao Yan's heart was extremely shocked. When he was still in the Toushe continent, a trace of his soul left behind in the Toushe continent said that he was able to achieve this achievement because of flame mantra, and Toushe had said before in Toushe continent, that even if him doesn't know who created the flame mantra. Now Emperor Toushe is taking out another scroll called flame mantra. How could Xiao Yan not be surprised? No wonder the strange fire in my body is so restless. No, It should be the flame mantra in the deepest part of my body to be more accurate. At this moment, Xiaoyan felt that the flame mantra in his body had seen it. When I saw the flame mantra in the hands of the ancient Emperor Toushe, I felt that the flame mantra I cultivated was like a broken map, and Master seemed to have the most complete one. Does it feel incredible? Ancient Emperor Toushe stared at Xiaoyan with a smile, as if the latter's every move and even the thoughts in his heart were all seen by the ancient Emperor Toushe. The trace of my soul in Dochi continent was left when I was just promoted to Dode. You only inherited my flame power, but did not inherit this complete cultivation technique. After 10,000 years, the memory of that avatar and the cognition is only retained before I was promoted to Dode, and because it was long ago, I know relatively few things. I am now, but I am the most complete soul force left in this world before I fell asleep. Ancient Emperor Toushe said slowly to Xiaoyan. What Emperor Toushe said was so clear, Xiaoyan understood it all this time. Why did the ancient Toushe look like he was hesitant to speak when he accepted the inheritance in the Toushe ancient emperor cave mansion? It turned out that his memory was incomplete. The trace of soul avatar of Emperor Toushe, in the ancient emperor's cave on the Dochi continent, was only recorded the memory of the Emperor Toushe himself when he was on the Dochi continent, so he didn't reveal too much to Xiaoyan at that time, because there was no way to talk about it. After all, the memory is incomplete and there is no way to talk about it without the memory of the new world. After that, the ancient Emperor Toushe broke through the Dochi continent and entered a new plane. All memories were not retained on the soul avatar of the Dochi continent. The ancient Toushe in front of him was left by the ancient Toushe who experienced the new continent and knows a lot of unknown secrets. Okay, hurry up, come over and feel the flame mantra in my hand carefully. Ancient Emperor Toushe looked at the disciple in front of him with a smile. The information returned from the soul power on the Dochi continent was very optimistic about this inheritance. Xiaoyan, the disciple who took up his mantle, nodded towards him quite satisfied. Staring blankly at the illusory black scroll in the hands of Emperor Toushe, Xiaoyan licked his tongue and said with a smile, although I don't know what will happen in the future, I really have a fate with you. After speaking, Xiaoyan raised a bright smile on his delicate face. Without hesitation, he took the black scroll in the slightly moved eyes of Emperor Toushe. Just as the palm touched the scroll, a fiery burning sensation came from the palm. Xiaoyan looked at the ancient Emperor Toushe in confusion. Although Xiaoyan had already devoured several kinds of heavenly fires, this temperature was no problem, but Xiaoyan was afraid that something would change, so he turned to look at his master. Relax, the flame mantra is checking whether there is any heavenly fire in your body, because the real flame mantra, heavenly fire, is the basic premise of cultivation. Emperor Toushe obviously saw Xiaoyan's incomprehension and spoke up. On the black flame mantra scroll, a small flame flew towards Xiaoyan's body at high speed. At first, Xiaoyan felt that this flame was flying around in his body, but as time passed, he felt carefully. It seems that, as his teacher said, he is checking his body. When the flames drifted into his key paths that contained the strange fire in his body, he became quiet. At this moment, the secrets in his body were unreservedly made clear by this small cluster of flames. Knowing the situation, Xiaoyan was not in a hurry, and immediately sat down with his legs crossed, letting the flames probe into his body. The flames withdrew from Xiaoyan's body after a few minutes, and then another scene happened. The scroll in Xiaoyan's hand suddenly radiated a dazzling light, and an aura that made Xiaoyan pay homage to it, as if the world was overshadowed by it, burst out from the scroll. Even ancient Emperor Toushe and the Golden Dragon King felt the breath. The corners of Xiaoyan's eyes were a little wet, and then a message emerged in Xiaoyan's mind. This technique is called flame mantra. It is divided into 6 stages. 1 is burning the foundation, the 2nd is burning the soul, the 3rd is burning the body, 4th is burning the heaven, 5th is burning the earth, 6th is burning God's self, become the world. It is a practice created by with all his strength, and it is the work I am most proud of. The value is immeasurable. Those who obtain this practice seek wealth and danger, a trace of heaven and a trace of hell. Hope those who are destined can get it in the event of a catastrophe. It can help the world, remember it. A long and ancient voice slowly appeared in Xiaoyan's mind. Xiaoyan's eyes stared at the void in front of him, because the so-called founder of Flame Mantra had the same rune on his forehead, and it was the ancestral mark of his Xiao clan. I believe you have also felt the trace of ancestral marks. I can only tell you now that the founder of Flame Mantra does have a deep relationship with your Xiao clan. But if you want to find your clan, you must become stronger. Looking at the end of the meditation, Emperor Toushe asked Xiaoyan, who had just opened his eyes. I have to figure out what's going on. Xiaoyan's mind were full of thoughts. Before, his Xiao family's Dode bloodline suddenly fell, and where did his people on Dode continent go? Many unknown mysteries still need to be found by oneself. Emperor Toushe obviously knew something, but he didn't mention it to Xiaoyan, so the premise of all this was to have a strong strength. Xiaoyan sighed with emotion, and the flame mantra, that was deeply imprinted in his mind, thought on his own. Indeed, the end is also a new beginning. The Dochi continent we are in can only be regarded as a lower plane. If you have enough strength, you will be promoted to these upper planes. I was also burned to achieve the current me. I want to come from various residues. You should also know some of the founders of Flame Mantra according to the Black Scroll, and you should call him Shizu. Ancient Emperor Toushe missed looking at the Black Scroll and bowed silently. Master, he must be the most peak existence in this great world, right? Xiaoyan asked. He created the Flame Mantra. This Shizu claimed such a word. From his master's mouth, he could hear some clues. Since his master was also the one who was burned, the primitive god that just sounded in his mind should be the teacher of his master Toushe Goody. My own master. What you are really thinking is that back then I was a flame that was born between heaven and earth, and I had nothing to do with this great world. I just entered the Do Emperor continent, and I caused a lot of trouble because I didn't know the rules of this world, but I was fortunate to meet the master. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't be today. Cough. It's better that you don't know many things, and you will naturally know when the time is right. Emperor Toushe said a few words obviously in awe, with a kind smile on his face. The moistness of the corners of his eyes could not hide his miss for his master, and then he quickly changed his mouth as if Xiaoyan had discovered it. Since you have now obtained the complete flame mantra, that has fulfilled my wish, and the teacher will have an explanation when he wakes up next time. Emperor Toushe sighed deeply. But there is one more thing. That needs your help, a mission, but it may be the best way for you to become stronger. Ancient Emperor Toushe suddenly looked at Xiaoyan and the Golden Dragon King seriously. Master's orders must be obeyed. Master, please say it. Xiaoyan clasped his fists with both hands and respected the ancient Emperor Toushe. You have to collect holy flames, and the more the better. Because this is related to your Xiao family's bloodline and future wars, it is inconvenient for me to tell you in detail, but Xiaojin will help you. Remember, you must not activate and use your clan tattoo, if your strength has not reached the level of fighting immortals. Toushe Goody said solemnly. Indeed, Xiaoyan felt a trace of blood from the fluctuation of flame mantra.